All right, welcome back to um, another video in the Sovereign Network series, Sovereign Cloud series. So we had a problem in the last video. The problem was one of the discs that was gifted to me by a friend, which was awesome. It saved me at least $60 just for that disc alone, and the equipment came with a bunch of other stuff too. So yeah, that was a solid for sure. Um, but that disk I pulled out of his computer, and he used to be a software developer for a gaming company. So there was a lot of sophisticated configuration on that disk. So it wasn't allowing me to add it to the to it wasn't allowing me to follow the guide and use it as outlined in the guide because of that. So the solution I came up with after talking to ChatGPT about this is I'm going to write all zeros to the disk. So it's a bit of a sophisticated process, and it does require perhaps buying something. Now you can just open up your case and plug it into if there's an available SATA on there, and you don't have to buy anything as long as you have a SATA cable, and you'll have one if you get some old gear because it'll come with SATA cables. But the limiting factor there is you need a power cable from your power supply to be free, which is probably not the case. Most of the times the power supply is kind of uh, designed for the number of disks that they predict that you'll have. So um, you might run out of uh, a cable to power up your drives. But the best solution, and this is something that I learned from a data recovery center, so this is a professional solution. Um, uh, so there's something called a toaster, is what they used to call it. I don't know if that's what it's actually called, but yeah, so I think the official word would be an external hard drive docking station. They would call it a toaster because it looks exactly like a toaster, so that's just makes sense to call it. And look at this, $40. And the nice thing about a toaster is all the data happens over a USB connection. It just plugs into the wall. It makes it so easy to reformat disks, do things with disks. You don't have to open up the case. So I definitely recommend just getting a toaster and just throwing it in your closet forever. This one here is $39, and uh, it has uh, two slots. The one I have is a bit older at this point, but I have one that's basically like this. It's I bought it probably 15 to 20 years ago, and it's still good. So that's important to note. This thing will last you. You buy this once and it'll last you your whole life, and it'll still be good. Discs aren't going to move away from SATA for probably ever. And then a USB connection is a USB connection. This can happen over USB 2 or USB 3. It doesn't matter. It'll just be faster over USB 3, but you can use it over USB 2. So definitely get a toaster. It's going to run you about $30. And you can get, a one with extra features. I don't even know what extra features this one has. So you can pay whatever you want for a toaster. You can probably even find one for $100. But I would say don't pay any more than $50 for a toaster. This one here, uh, that looks really good. This is I would definitely recommend this one if you want to really scrimp and scrape and save, this one is good as well. In fact, I probably recommend this one over this one because I doubt you'll, unless you're like a professional. And honestly, like when I worked at the data recovery center, they had toasters like these. Like they didn't have some special, $1,000 toaster with like 50 slots on it. They just used a basic toaster like this. So if the professionals are using these are good enough for you for sure. So I would recommend this one here, 30 bucks. Definitely don't pay any more than 50 for these. So I definitely would not recommend this one here. And if you have quite a few disks you need to format for whatever reason, getting the extra slot probably will make sense. So I recommend either this one or this one. For myself, I have one that's kind of like this one, although it is quite a bit older, and it still works great. The other thing I love about the one I have is this like slot here is just completely superfluous. It's not, it doesn't do anything. It just makes it so that it's like it kind of guides it in a little, and it makes it more like an actual toaster. So it doesn't. So I've talked about this on the channel before. I all of my tech gear has been dropped from at least a height of I would say 3 to 5 feet. It's just kind of how I am at home. I drop everything. So all my equipment has been dropped. So it's really important for me that anything I buy is durable enough to withstand a drop from about 5 feet. So I dropped my toaster today, of course, that I had for 15 to 20 years, and this piece on the top broke off, but it works beautifully. I'm running disk part right now, and everything works. The LED works. Every like so so the one I have, I can definitely recommend. I'll actually look up the. Well, I don't want to draw. I'm afraid I'll mess up the process, but this one should be totally fine. And the great thing about buying things at lower prices is you can replace them. So I definitely recommend this one here. All right, so moving on to my ChatGPT conversation. So I initially thought I'd have to use Rufus to reformat the drive, add like a partition scheme or something like that. But in talking to ChatGPT using O3 Mini-High, we made the decision that blanking out the disk um, would would better be done with a Windows tool called DiskPart. So we don't even need to worry about writing the partition or anything like that, because we're going to do that as part of the Ubuntu setup process. So we're not going to use my workstation here. We're going to use the workstation and we're going to use the Dell T5600 to actually set up the partition table and add it to RAID and all that. So all we need to do on this here is blank out the disks so that they don't have any pre-existing configuration that would prevent it from being added to a new RAID array. If it's already configured for RAID, um, you have to blank out that configuration before you can add it to another RAID array. And let's get that claim evaluated. So here's the claim. If a disk is already configured for RAID, then you have to blank it out or write all zeros to it in order for it to be added to another RAID array, a different one. All right, so let's see how true that claim is. I think it's pretty darn true, but we'll get to all the details. All right, and while that's going, I'm gonna show what I've got here. So let me enable my camera. Uh, Not sure how to enable my camera. Oh, this is how. Okay. This is kind of tricky sometimes. Whenever I need it to work, it doesn't work, but whenever I don't need it to work, then it works. Huh. And then even worse, I thought I had link to Windows pinned, but I guess I don't. All right, so I think if I remove this and then add it back, deactivate and then activate, there we go. That's the key. Perfect. Okay, so yeah, so we can see I pulled apart the it again. I disconnected both drives. So I have one of the drives sitting here ready to go, and then I have the other drive in my 15, 20-year-old toaster that is still ticking, even though I broke off a piece of it. So it just needs power, 12 volts out. So I just kind of digged around in my junk pile for one of those adapters because I lost the original one, and it works with that. It just has to fit into the slot. Um, Here, some of these aren't universal, so it just has to fit in there. And then it has to be 12 volts output. And then I've got the USB cable going into there, and that's as easy as it is. Once you have the toaster, which again will only run you a few tens of dollars, it's really easy to set up your disks. So then I went to ChatGPT, and I asked for a step-by-step guide. So so uh, that was so where did I do that? So let's do a control F. Okay, so I said, yeah, give me step-by-step instructions for using disk part for clean all. And that's cool. It knew I wanted clean all based on the context. So we go to disk part, we do list disk. Now list disk kind of leaves a lot to be desired. It just simply lists all your disks, but it doesn't give you any. Oh, those are partitions, not disks. Yeah. So it just shows you all your disks, but it doesn't give you any extra information that you need to determine which disk is which. So you need to select the disk and then get detail on the disk, and that's how you can be 100% sure which disk is which. And you need to have that 100% certainty before you continue, because this will irreversibly eliminate all the data on your disk. So if you're using one of your production disks, there's no going back. You've just completely erased it. Um, so um, so if we do detail disk, so I selected disk one, did a detail disk. This is my Samsung SD. The ones I want to format are SanDisk, not Samsung. We can also see this is my D drive, which is something I frequently use and save things to. So we know for a fact that this is not the disk I want to write zeros to. So then I misspelled select. I typed it with a D instead of an S. So now I typed it correctly, and we can see this disk number two, AS Media SCSI disk. Kind of not sure what that is. Drive letter E, that's a good sign. Sign size 930, it's like a 1 TB drive. So this is a good candidate for what my disk is. This is likely it. It doesn't say that it's a SanDisk, but it's a good candidate. So now we'll look at disk zero, and we can see this is my C drive disk. So definitely, it has the boot partition on it. So if I blow away this disk, my computer is not going to boot anymore, and everything saved under my C drive, which is the operating system files themselves, are going to blow away. So this is definitely not the disk. So based on that process of elimination, we know for a 100% certainty that the disk is disk number two. And you have to have that 100% certainty. If it's 99.98% certain, you really want to check again, because there's no going back once you write all zeros to a production disk. So, but I was 100% certain here, so selected disk 2. Did that detail again. Sure enough, it's drive E. Don't have anything else plugged in. I don't have any USB drives plugged in or anything like that. I've just got 3 disks on there: my boot disk, my extra disk for storage, and then this disk I want to reformat. So there you have it. Then all you need to do is run clean all, and it's going to write zeros to the disk. Now, this process will take a long time. The other thing you might notice is your disk is going to heat up a bit. I don't know if it's an SSD, if it will heat up. If it's a mechanical, you'll probably notice it will really spin kind of noisily and crazily. But you just got to give it some time. It's going to take a long time. It's writing zeros to the entire disk. So, imagine a download. You're downloading something that's going to take a bit of time. It'll go faster depending on your internet connection. It's kind of the same thing. You're installing something, you're downloading something, but you're just writing nothing. You're writing all zeros to it. So that'll take some time for sure. So you just got to leave it sit. I'm going to do it to both of my drives, and then I'll go back to the plugging them into my T5600 and going through the Linux Ubuntu boot up menu, and then I'll go back to the guide, and I'll use the disk utility tool that's a part of that boot up menu to configure the RAID. So that's it for now. Just a brief update, because none of this is in the guide. The guide was written for like grandmothers to be able to do it, and that's probably a bit of a joke. But as you can see here, I am a technology professional. I've had about a decade of experience. I went to school for it, just a 2-year school, but I'm definitely not an old grandma when it comes to technology. So I just wanted to be really clear that there might be some missing steps in this guide. And this is definitely one of those steps. And it's a big step, because you might need to buy a toaster. You're going to need to know how to use DiskPart. So it's really something that does belong in the guide. I'm just kind of not sure how to submit feedback to Louis Rossmann, but this is something that definitely does belong in the guide. So I wanted to make sure that I had it in my series on the guide. All right, so that's it. See you in the next one.